Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening everyone and good morning everyone. You are joining the Monday Sutta discussion, day 82. And in today's discussion, we will be discussing a sutta called Pāṭibhoga. Pāṭibhoga means guarantee. So this appears in Anguttara Nikaya, 4th section, Chatukka Nipata, 182. So the topic from this sutta is going to be this: 4 things you thought were guaranteed but aren't. So you initially thought that they are guaranteed, but later on you found out they are not guaranteed and they are not how you thought before. So we will be digging into what these 4 things are and then how they can become not getting guaranteed in our life, in what perspectives, and why Buddha mentions these 4 to be things that we should not ever think to be something that we can make sure. Okay, let me go into the Pali text. For those of you who are watching here online, you can see the post here. You can see a link for the English translation. In that on that same page, you can see that there is an edition in English, so you can read Pali as well if you want. Otherwise, you can just stay tuned with me here because I'm reading. Pāṭibhoga Sutta. Pāṭibhoga means guarantee. Chatunnang bhikkhave dhammanang natti kochi pāṭibhogo. Pāṭibhogo samanova brahmanova devova marova brahmava kochiva lokasmin katamesan chatunnam. Chatunnam bhikkhave dhammana natti kochi pāṭibhogo. So there are 4 things that no one can guarantee. Then there are few people being mentioned to understand the gravity of that statement. Who are they? Samanova, Brahmanova, Devova, Marova, Brahmava. So these are the very famous, at the same time very powerful beings in the spiritual context. Not an ascetic, that means a samano. So monks, nuns, all they become a part of samano. Brahmanova, a Brahmin. So a Brahmin means, when it comes to the Indian context, they were the people who were venerated in a high scale in society and who were maintaining all the social status. And Devova, a god. Marova, a Mara. So Mara, now it says a Mara. So Marova, I would say this Mara seems to be the Mara that we know in the 2 heavens called Nimmanarati and Paranimita Vasavati. In other words, we call this Mara to be Vasavati Mara. Brahmava, so somebody who is higher than the heavens. Brahmava means Brahma. So there are a lot of Brahmas. We know there are some prominent Brahmas and Mahabrahma, right? Vakochiva lokasmi, or anyone in the world that we identify, that we don't identify. So these individuals who we know in the normal human life, as well as in the places where we can't see, none of them can give you a guarantee about these 4 particular things. Katame sanchatunnam, what 4? Jara dhammang ma ji riti natti kochi pāṭibhogo samanova brahmanova devova marova brahmava kochiva lokasmi. Jara Dhamma. I mean, this is not a new word for all of you, because we know what is Jara. Dhamma at this point means the nature. The nature of Jara means decay. So I would translate this: no one can guarantee that someone liable to grow old will not grow old. So we are all meant to be old as time permits, naturally. Sometimes some people, they grow old pretty fast for different reasons. We will be discussing some of those things too, in addition to the Buddhist perspective. So no one can guarantee that someone liable to grow old will not grow old. The same individuals like an ascetic, a Brahmin, a god, a Mara, a Brahma, or anyone in the world. So even the Buddha cannot guarantee, right? Because dhammas are dhammas. Be that a Buddha or not, they are happening because those are the characteristics of the sankharas, right? Conditioned things. The second thing, which there can be no guarantee from any individual that we mentioned, by an ascetic, by a Brahmin, by a Mara, by one of the Brahmas, or any other person, is Vyadi Dhamma. Vyadi Dhammang ma Vyadi iti natti kochi Pāṭibhoga samanuva Brahmanuva, etc. etc. That means no one can guarantee that someone liable to sickness will not get sick. Now, for example, if I am healthy, if you are healthy, no one can guarantee that you will not be sick. You will not be, getting any sickness in the future, right? Because, that clearly shows that this body is not belong to us in the real sense, right? In the same way, Jara, though I or you might be not that old, but there can be a guarantee that you will not be old at some point of your life, right? That's the second one. Third one, Marana Dhammang ma mi iti natti kochi Pāṭibhoga samanuva Brahmanuva Devuva Maruva Brahmava Kochiva Lukasmin. In the same way, death, no one can guarantee that someone liable to death will not die. Now, we all know that we're going to die one day, but we can't have a perception that, or notion that we will not die at some point of our life, right? Not even us, but also anyone like an ascetic, or a Brahmin, or a god, deity, or a Mara, or a Brahma, or anybody else in the world, in the universe. The fourth one is Yani ko panatani papakani kammani sankilesikani pono bhavikani sadarani dukkha vipakani ayatin jati jara maranikani tesang vipako ma nibbattati natti kochi Pāṭibhoga samanova brahmanova devova maruva brahmava kochiva lukasmi. Now, this is an explanation about the fourth thing that Buddha says, that there can be a guarantee. It's about bad karmas you might have done in your past lives. So the meaning is, no one can guarantee that the bad deeds, I would say bad karma, done in your past lives, corrupted, that means sankilesikani, leading to future lives, pono bhavikani, sadarani means hurtful, resulting in suffering and future rebirth, old age and death, will not produce their result. Now, karma is not a linear perspective, linear thing. That means you can't say that this particular karma or that particular karma, or a bunch of unidentified karmas will bear fruit in the future. But you know what? We have to draw a line. How we gonna draw the line means there are different techniques that you can neutralize your past karmas, but that does not say that you can do a bad thing, bad karma, and then so that you can neutralize the bad karma in the future life or in this life. But Buddha says there is a clear neutralization, which we will be talking at the end of this discussion, because this topic, neutralization of bad karma or karma, was my research project at the Center for Studies in Religion and Society at the University of Victoria, British Columbia, sometimes ago, a couple of years ago. So I know what to talk about exactly from an academic point of view too. Anyways, so the fourth thing is that we can never guarantee, not even us, even anyone, like an ascetic, a Brahmin, or a god, or a Mara, or a Brahma, no one can guarantee that the bad karmas we might have done, we had done in our past lives, would not bear fruit in this life or in the lives to come. So these four are things that are highly, uncertain, to be able to predict in your foreseeable future, or in the future that you never know. So we'll take a look at these four with some additional knowledge. Okay, what is the first thing that we can guarantee, not even us, any of powerful being in the world, is aging, jara. Now we know what is aging, but we specifically know that aging is most relevant to human beings and many other animals, and also fungi. But have you also thought that aging is not relevant to some bacteria? I would say most of the bacteria, perennial plants, and some simple animals who are potentially immortal. I wouldn't say they are immortal, but I would say they have a pretty long time. So aging mostly matters to human beings and animals and fungi. That's the scientific perspective, and it's not the Buddhist perspective. And also, the modern science, they are researching and discussing this in a broader sense, and what they say is that they have a couple ideas. One of the things that they say is that they say, in a broader sense, when it comes to a larger, broader sense, aging can refer to single cells within an organism which have ceased dividing. So it's more about the death of single cells. We are a combination of many cells. So the causes could be still uncertain. They are still uncertain about particular causes, but there are two fundamental theories behind the aging. The one is the damage concept, which means accumulation of damage, such as DNA oxidation, right, may cause biological systems to fail. So when the DNA oxidation happens and occurs, what happens is that the accumulation of damage, which means DNA oxidation and etc., may cause biological systems to fail. So that is one way of looking at it in a scientific theory. On the other hand, they could also assume that this could be due to the program aging concept, like say we are all programmed to age, right? Where we can say internal processes like DNA methylation may cause aging. So it's about DNA methylation. But we have to understand that this program aging, we should not consider program aging with program cell death, we call apoptosis. But mainly it's about it could happen due to two reasons with their theories. One is the DNA oxidation and etc., and also a DNA methylation, or what we call by program aging. So this is what we understand from a scientific perspective. But let's keep that somewhere, and we'll come back to Jara. Okay, now, Dhamma friends, have you ever heard a word called Ajaramar? Now, Buddha talks about a Pali term or concept called Ajaramar. There are things, or there is a thing that is not subject to decay and death. Now, we know we all are subject to decay, sickness, death, and all that. But Buddha says that there are things that are not subject to aging, decay, sickness, or death. So we'll looking at those two after we talk about Jara, the normal generic interpretation of Jara. If you can remember the Buddha's first Dhamma talk, which you know by Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, wherein he explained about dukkha, and he clearly mentioned in the discussion of dukkha that jara, vyadi, and marana, they are fundamental causes of the dukkha. So which come under dukkha arya satya, the noble truth of dissatisfaction or suffering. So, but if we take a look at the sutta called Satya Vibhanga Sutta, which was explained by, delivered by Arahant Sariputta as an analysis of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, we don't see vyadi in the discussion. He discusses jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, maranampi dukkha, soka parideva dukkha domanasupāyāsāpi dukkha, yampiccang nalabati tampi dukkha, sankittena panchapadanakkhandha. Right? So we had to find out what happened with vyadi. Anyways, what we have to understand is that jara, vyadi, marana, they are fundamental concepts which are being discussed under the noble truth called, the first noble truth, which you call by dukkha arya satya. So the discussion of these, concepts, I would say, jara, vyadi, marana, they are fundamentally very important to all of us. Not even as a perspective of a Dhamma matter. So they are fundamentally, they are necessarily important to discuss all the time. So I'm happy that we could bring this to our discussion in today's talk, so that we can discuss more about these things called jara, vyadi, marana, which are really relevant and necessary for understanding the dukkha. Okay. I'm going to discuss jara, because we don't talk about jati here, because nobody is concerned about the jati, right? We all are born, but we only understand jati is suffering or dissatisfying when we gonna think about the next life. But in this life, not many of us think jati is suffering, unless we read a sutta called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, etc., etc. We know jati is dukkha. But we don't feel jati is dukkha that much unless we are suffering a lot with our fundamental needs. But anyways, that's why Buddha says this when it comes to the guaranteeing part, only jara, vyadi, marana affect us a lot, along with the bad karmas we may have done in a past life or in past lives. So let's take a look at jara, which you call aging or old age, with the explanation from the Satya Vibhanga Sutta given by Arahant Sariputta. Ya tesang sattanang tamhi satta nikaye jara jiranata kandichang palichang valitta chata ayuno sanghani indriyanam paripako ayang uchatavaso jara. So Arahant Sariputta explains what is jara. Now he says, if you can see any manifestation of jara, the old age, jiranata, decrepitude, which means a state of being in very bad condition because of being old or not having been cared for, having been used a lot, jiranata. which is a fundamental characteristic of old age. Khandichang, which means broken teeth. Palichang, grey hair. Valitachata, wrinkly skin or wrinkles. Ayuno Sanghani, diminished vitality. So vitality means energy and strength. So there is a diminution of that vitality. Indriyanam Paripaku, failing faculties. Right? So this is what we have to understand by Jara. So whenever you see these observations, these things in your body, then you have to understand this is a Jara. So what is Jara? Whenever you see wrinkles, whenever you see what do you call gray hair, when you see broken teeth, whenever you see I would say failing faculties, whenever you see diminished vitality within you, and these all these are indications of your aging, what you call decay. We are not saying that things could look to us pleasant, but whenever we evolve, whenever we growing within a certain time period, we might find out this is okay, but after some time we might not think the same way, right? Okay, so that is the definition of Jara. And we also know Jara is a part of the 11 fires: Raga, Dosa, Moha, Vyadi, Jara, Marana, Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domana, Supaya. These are the 11 fires that are lighting all the time within us, and Jara is one of the fires which is given in one of the other sutta. Now, the Buddha says in one of the stanzas in the Dhammapada stanza 151, there is something, as I told you at the beginning, there is something that is not subject to decay, sickness and death. So we have to find out that, because if we know that we all subject to decay, sickness and death, we have to find out, aren't there any things that are not subject to decaying, I would say, sicknesses and death? We have to find out that. We have to figure out. We have to, see how those things that are not subject to decay, sickness, death work for us. So I would read one line of that stanza: Satancha dhammo na jarang upeti. But the dhamma of the virtuous does not decay. Satancha dhammo means the dhamma. We call it the ninefold classification of the Aryaman. I would say, there are, two types of attainments: Sotapanna, Sakadagama, and Agamya. Right? With all that, we find out this Dhamma. So Dhamma is not something that is subject to decay, sickness and death. So we have to find out, we have to figure out Dhamma. So Dhamma is where we find out the absence of decay, sickness and death. That is forever there. That is what we have to follow. That is where we should find out this non-decay, non-sicknesses and non-death. Right? Okay, and I would read another stanza where Buddha talks, because there's one whole chapter for Jara. We call it Jara chapter. Jara means decay. Chapter of decay, or the teachings of decay in the Dhammapada. This is the stanza called 152. Appasutayang purisu bali vaddu vachirati mansani tassa vaddhanti panya tassa nevaddati. The person of little learning, Dhamma learning, grows old like an ox. The flesh increases, but inside does not. Now we should not grow old like an ox. We should grow graciously, because we know that we are not supposed to grow like in a way that the Dhamma doesn't like us to be, right? We have to find out how to grow graciously. Sometimes you can see that there are people who take a lot of stress when they are young, when they are even small, at a time they are not supposed to take, like sometimes exams, studies, education. I know the society has some temptations, but we should not, you know, feed our thoughts, our feelings, with negativities. So whenever you welcoming negativities into you, what will happen to you is that your organs, not even your normal organs, but also your mind, your thoughts, your feelings will have a premature aging, which is not good. You never know. Now, if you can take a look at your feelings, I think feelings also have an aging, because whenever you try to overly feed your emotions and feed your feelings, feed your thoughts, without thinking your age range, let's say if you are in 20s, if you are in 30s, if you are in 40s, if you are in 60s, you need to understand what would be the best way to spend my this decade. But if you try to overly pushing you to think that even I'm in my 30s, 20s, I want to be like 40, 50 kind of a person, right? So you are trying to welcome, you are trying to let that premature aging flourish and take over yourself. So, which is not good. So we have to age graciously. I mean, it is a possibility. Now there is a science we know called gerontology, which means the science of aging. If you can study that too, you will understand more. So anyways, let's grow graciously, not grow old like an ox. If that happens, if the opposite happens, what will happen is that our flesh will increase, but not our inside. Right? Sometimes we have to ask us, like, have I achieved insofar as my age, right? Have I achieved physically, mentally, emotionally insofar as my age? That's something interesting to think about, not like pushing you to stress, so that you understand what to do, what not to do, right? Do's and don'ts. That is a chara. Now we are moving on to Vyadi, depending on the time. Vyadi, when you talk about Vyadi, Vyadi means sickness or disease. There are two types of main Vyadis we understand. Kāyika rogo, Cetasika rogo. Because there are three terms called Roga, Vyadi, Abada. They all talk about sickness, reasons of sickness or sicknesses. So mainly there are two types of sicknesses. Kāyika rogo, that means physical sicknesses, and Cetasika rogo, mental sicknesses. Keep in mind, there is an interesting thing to understand. Kāyika rogo, which means physical sicknesses, they can arise from different reasons. Okay? But Cetasika rogo, mental sickness, arises only from one cause: defilement, right? Or defilement. So that is the main cause. That is the only one reason, one cause that will make you mentally sick. But when it comes to the physical illnesses or sicknesses, there could be multiple reasons why you get sick physically. In one of the suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya 1460, Buddha says, monks, those beings who admit to be freed from mental illnesses even for a moment are difficult to find in the world. Now, there could be people who might say we are healthy, we don't have any conventional sicknesses, but Buddha says they are not free from mental sicknesses. So monks, those beings who admit to be freed from mental illnesses even for a moment, are difficult to find in the world, except those who have destroyed the defilements. So whenever you are not an Arahant, that means you are already prone to, far more susceptible to sicknesses, which means you haven't attained Nibbana. So regardless of anyone who has not attained Nibbana, this theory applies to that particular person. So we all, if we have not attained Nibbana, which means we all are mentally sick. So Buddha says we are not healthy for a moment when it comes to mental health, because we haven't attained Nibbana. So those of them who talk about the modern psychological, psychiatric things, they talk about, okay, I have this brain problems, I have this stress problem, I have this depression. But in reality, Buddha says, if you have not attained Nibbana, that means you are sick mentally. So something to think about. And if we look at more information about different illnesses, sicknesses, we have to refer to a sutta called Girimananda Sutta, which is 10th section of Anguttara Nikaya, 10.60. Therein we understand there was a monk who was severely ill. His name was Girimananda, and Venerable Ananda approached the Buddha, and the Buddha advised Venerable Ananda, you need to go see Venerable Girimananda and explain the 10 perceptions, 10 perceptions to Venerable Girimananda. So out of the 10 perceptions, or 10 signs, or I would say perceptions, we find out the fourth category of perceptions explain to us about the existing then time sicknesses, illnesses. I think most of the sicknesses we know in today's world fall into these sicknesses which Buddha explained in Pali words. Bahu dukkho ko ayam kayo bahu adino. The body is infested with a lot of suffering and dissatisfaction. Iti imasmin kai vividha abada uppajjan. So in this one-fathom body, there are multiple illnesses arise for different reasons. Now all these sicknesses, illnesses have multiple reasons, except the mental sickness has one reason, which means defilements. So the presence of defilements is the only one reason for all the mental issues. Okay, let me read all these sicknesses to give you an understanding, get a sense of what Buddha meant by them. The first one, Chakkurogo. So Chakkurogo means diseases that are related to seeing, right? So you're seeing. Sotharogo means hearing diseases, hearing loss. Sometimes hearing issues can occur at different times. And Gahana Rogu means nose diseases. So there could be some issues with someone's nose, so they call by Gahana Rogu. Jivha Rogu means tongue diseases. We know there could be some issues with someone's tongue for different reasons. We call it Jivha Rogu, tongue diseases. Kaya Rogu means body diseases. So the body is taken as a whole, and then any disease which comes out of the body is taken as, regarded as body diseases. Sisa Rogu means head diseases. If you talk about a kind of a headache or a migraine, or whatever you call migraine or migraine, and whatever issues that you have with your head, they are called under Sisa Rogo. Kanna Rogo means ear diseases. Now, under number 2, we talk about Sotharogo, hearing diseases, which means someone is having a hard time in listening to, in hearing something. But when it comes to Kanna Rogo, it means any issues that is inside your ear, Kanna Rogo. And Mukha Rogo means mouth diseases. There could be a lot of issues, things, implications of someone's mouth. So all those diseases come under Mukha Rogo. Danta Rogo is all the issues about your teeth, dental diseases, right? Teeth diseases. Sotharogo, this is 10. Sotharogo means lip diseases. So if you have any diseases with your lip, anything, even it could be a gum, they all come under lip diseases. And Kaso means cough, right? Saso means asthma. Pinaso means kata. Daho means pyrexia. Some people say inflammation, but say pyrexia. And Jaro means fever. Kuchirogo means stomachache, which we all suffer time to time. Some people, they suffer with stomachache for food cravings, but you have to be very careful. Stomachaches. Kuchirogo. Mucha means fainting. People faint for different reasons, so it's also a sickness to Buddha. Pakandika means dysentery, which is a very severe disease, I guess. Dysentery. Sula means gripes or gastric pain. Okay. 20. Visuchika means cholera, which is also a disease with regard to the bowels. Number 21. Kutang Leprosy. Gandu means boils. Kilasu means eczema, skin diseases. Soso means tuberculosis. Apamaru means epilepsy. Daddu means herpes or ringworm. Kandu means itch. This is something that a lot of people suffer all the time. Itchy stuff, right? Kachu means scab. Nakasa means chickenpox. Vitachika means scabies, which is also a skin disease. Lohita pitta means hemorrhage. Madhumeho means diabetes, which is a very, very, problematic illness, sickness, which affect a lot of people because people don't care about their sugar intake as well as their stress levels. Ansa means hemorrhoids. Pilaka means cancer, which is another big cause of why many people die. Bagandala means fistula. So fistula means an abnormal opening or passage from one organ to another, or from an organ to the skin surface. It's called fistula. In Pali we call Bagandala. Pitta Samuttana Abada means affliction stemming from disorders of bile. So anything that is coming out of bile, so bile-based diseases within you. Sema Samuttana Bada, any affliction stemming from disorders of your phlegm. Vata Samuttana Bada, any affliction stemming from disorders of your wind. Right, not your wind, I mean wind, basically, air. Sanipatika Bada means any affliction stemming from the combination of bile, phlegm, and wind. Sanipatika. Utuparinamaja Bada means any affliction stemming from climate changes, weather changes. Like in some countries or even in your country, whenever the seasons, weather patterns change, you might get sick. So it is also a sickness. Visama Pariharaja Abada means careless behavior. Whenever you don't take care of you, it could be it will also give you a sickness, illness. Sometimes people try to lift things without balance, without confidence, so that they are very careless in their carrying of the body. So that can also give illnesses. Opakkamika Abada means assault. Kamma Vipakacha Abada means any sicknesses that can arise out because of kamma. We know there are many stories of people who got some skin issues at the Buddha time because they were very angry people in the previous life. They were also either angry or jealous people, each other. So people who get skin diseases sometimes could be as a consequence of anger and jealousy. Sitang means cold. Whenever you get sick with cold, it is also sickness. And you can also get sick by heat, also by hunger, called jigacha. And pipasa means thirst. Ucharo means defecation. So whenever you want to go to washroom, it is also a disease. Buddha takes it as a disease because you have to go, you can't control it. Pasavu means urination. So whenever you want to go to the washroom, it indicates that you need to do it because you have no control over it, right? So all these, in my understanding, 49 of 50 diseases, illnesses have been taken as physical illnesses. There are almost 49 or 50 sicknesses, illnesses in this Girimananda Sutta. So what I want you to think is, we can get sick physically under these conditions, but we are sick mentally at all times unless we don't think that we need to attain Nibbana. So any being before Nibbana, they are mentally sick because they are suffering with their defilements all the time based on tanha and avijja, right? Ignorance and craving. Okay, so this is the second thing that nobody can guarantee, that whether you will get or whether you will not get. The third thing is Marana Dhamma. Now, what is Marana Dhamma? We know that Marana is inevitable, but a lot of people think that death, Marana means death, is not a part of this life. Now, I want you to consider death is inevitable, which of course you know, but think that death is part of this life because you need to die, including me. If you separate death from birth, you are wrong and you are incorrect in their understanding. Buddha says if there is a birth, there should be a death followed by. What is curious and interesting is that we never know when that death will happen, but it doesn't matter. But we have to understand death is part of a birth. So then we are trying to understand easily that no, this is not something very abrupt, sudden and unexpected thing. This will happen one day, but we know that when it happens all of a sudden, we might not be able to take it. But if we know that death is the other side of the flip side of the coin, with the birth, then we will have a better sense in understanding the death. Now we know in the Buddhist teachings there are two deaths, especially when we talk about Abhidhamma. We know there is a death with regard to your mind, and there is a death with regard to your body. Now in Abhidhamma, we understand there is something called Jivitendriya when it comes to the mind, because Abhidhamma talks about Chitta and Cetasika, right? So Abhidhamma says that whenever your Jivitendriya is dead, that means your mind can function anymore. But don't think you are dead, because you have another Hadevatu. In English we call it heart base and life faculty. They all exist with your body. So whenever your heart base also starts to stop, then there will be a complete death according to the Abhidhamma, Theravada Abhidhamma. And also when you look at the modern medical interpretations of the death, they talk about a brain death, but the man or woman still living, because we know in the Abhidhamma it clearly says that whenever somebody is dead, with regard to the brain, but that person still continue to live, because there is another mind type of thing which exists with regard to your body. That's why someone who is already brain dead but still continue to live. But in the modern medical science, we understand there's brain death, which is of course Buddhist friendly. At the same time, they talk about there's some biological death, so the brain death and the clinical death. So brain death mainly refers to the death of your brain, and clinical death refers to the death of your heart, and the biological death refers to what happens the aftermath. Now, whenever you die, you know that if you want to sign up, you understand that your eyes can be used, your other organs, if you want to donate, they can be used. Even you dead, clinically or by brain, right? So death has a very bizarre definition in that sense. But anyways, what we have to understand is that nobody can predict, nobody can say particularly this is the time, and we will not die this way. And we know there are instances where Buddha predicted about some people's death, but it's not such a very clear cut or such a normal practice when it comes to the Buddhist teaching, right? So especially when it comes to this context, no samana, ascetic, no brahmano, no brahmin, devova, no god or deity, marova, no maro, no any other maro, brahmava, no any brahma, kochivalokasmin, any other being can predict or guarantee, especially guarantee that this is the time you're gonna die, this is the time you're gonna get all, this is the time you're gonna get sick. Okay. Let's move on to the last one, the fourth one, where anybody anybody who we know here can guarantee the time or whatever. It's about the bad karma. Okay. Now it's very interesting because we never know what bad karma we may have done in the past life. But in the Buddhist teachings, we understand when we make karma with volition. So every time, if you know, if you are intentional that you are doing anything, be that a word, be that a thought, be that an action, that since that moment you are creating karma. But if you are not conscious, if you are not intentional, there will not be karma. In order your actions, thoughts, words to become karma, there must be this intentional part which is called volition or chetana. But we never know. Even we take care of us now, but we never know what karmas we may have done in the past lives. And we can understand, we can't know, but we have to think that definitely we may have done bad karmas too. So in this fourth section, what Buddha says is that nobody can guarantee nobody can guarantee that the bad deeds, bad karma done in the past lives, corrupted, leading to future lives, hurtful, resulting in suffering and future rebirth, old age and death will not produce their result. So it's about the maturity of karma. So nobody knows the maturity, the exact way how the vipakas, so the opposite, the result of the karma is the vipakas, right? How the vipaka will be created. Now, say for instance, there are 4 people, A, B, C, D. Yes, Sherry, you can ask the question here, I can see. Can you type it? Now, for example, I would say there are 4 people, A, B, C, D. Now, if the A, B, C, D people are to do the same good karma or a bad karma, we can say that the 4 people who did the exact same thing will get the same vipaka, both on the good side and the bad side, because the maturity, karma maturity is such a very I would say unprecedented and very difficult to predict. That's why Buddha says karma is something that one should not overthink. There are few things one should not overthink. One is the Buddha, about the Buddhas. Second is the thought, the mind. The third is the karmas. And the fourth is the lokas, existences, universe. So we should not overthink these 4. But anyways, I would give you a general idea. In most of the Theravada Buddhist teachings, we understand how do the karmas operate? There are 4 ways that we have to understand when it comes to the operation of the, especially how the karmas work with the particular times. There are some karmas that affect in this life. We call Ditta Dhamma Vedaniya karma, immediately effective karmas. So they are immediately effective. Mostly these karmas are very powerful karmas, both on the good side and the bad side. So if you do a good thing, really prominent good thing, exclusively good thing, as well as if you do a bad thing to a very good person, morally such a virtuous being, you will get the bad benefit, bad karma too. Second is Upapajya Vedani. You will not experience the karma in this life, but in the next life. The third way to understand the time of karma is Aparapariya, which means you will get the experience, vipaka, not in this life, not in the second life, but after, I would say, third life. And the fourth one is Ahosi karma, which means some karmas will be null and void. I would say how it happens will be in a way when you attain Nibbana, right? So your karmas will be null and void. At the same time, if you do a lot of good karmas, that will also neutralize and mitigate your bad karmas, right? You can make your bad karmas and avoid, mitigate by doing more good karmas, right? The example is, if you can remember, if you can remember the Mahanama Sutta, I guess, Buddha says, if somebody puts a small amount of salt into a glass of water, we know that a glass of water will be saltish right away. But if the same person put the same amount of salt into the Ganges in India, the Ganges will not become saltish because the volume of water is higher than the amount of salt. In the same way, if someone can do more good karmas, that will be an incentive to take over the range or amount of bad karmas one may have done in the past lives or in this life. But it doesn't say that you can do bad karma and then do a lot of good karmas. I mean, try to avoid any bad karma, but if you know that you already done any bad karma, do more good karmas. That is Ahosi. And when it comes to priority, whenever you do the karmas, these karmas are processing all the time. And then what happens is that karmas themselves prioritizing for you, right? Now, for example, we all are doing karmas, right? Then when the karmas are processing themselves, they are prioritizing themselves for you. Now, how it happens? There are 4 ways. Garuka karma, Asana karma, Achinna karma, Katatta karma. The first priority is Garuka karma. Second priority is Asana karma. Third priority is Achinna karma. Fourth priority is Katatta karma. So what is Garuka karma? There are some karmas which are very heavy in terms of result, vipaka. So they prioritize first. They will affect you first. Asana karma means the karmas you did at the time of your death. Death proximate karma. Let's say when you're gonna die, the moment you die, you will be doing a karma, right? That karma can overtake. So it will be the second priority. Let's say your next life will be decided by a heavy karma. If the heavy karma is not powerful, it will come. Then the second priority is the death approximate karma. The third priority is the habitual one. So the karmas you've been doing all the time whenever you're alive, those karmas will prioritize, but at the third space. The fourth one is Katatta. Katatta karma means any other karma that are not a part of these Garuka, Asana, Achinna, heavy, death proximate, habitual. If you don't have any of those karmas, then this Katatta, which we call cumulative karmas, will take over, which we call reserve fund of a particular being throughout his or her life. And when it comes to the functioning of karma, we also see 4 ways. We call them Janaka karma, Upattambaka karma, Upapīdaka karma, it's the same, Upaghata karma. So what is Janaka karma? Now we talk about how the karmas take effect, right? How they take effect in different lives. And we also talk about how the karmas themselves prioritizing karmas. And now we talk about how the karmas functioning. The first way is Janaka karma, which means there are karmas that can be reproductive, right? The second one is whenever you have a reproductive karma in your life, next life or lives after, some karmas can support your reproductive karma, which is called by Paṭibhoga karma. At the same time, the flip side is really bad, which means upapilaka upapidaka. Whenever you have a reproductive karma, let's say you are a human, but you have some human issues. I would say you might be blind, you might have other physical problems, mental problems. That means some other karmas are counteractive to your Janaka karma, which is called by reproductive karma. Some karmas are there called by upaghataka karmas, destructive or neutralizing karma. This could be on the both sides. This is what we talked about, what do you call, ahosi karma. So sometimes whenever you do a heavy good karma, it can neutralize the bad karma you did at other times. At the same time, if you do a really good karma, but if you do a really heavy bad karma, it can also neutralize your good karma, which is pretty bad. We should never destroy, neutralize our good karmas with a heavy bad karma, right? So, folks, now you understand, we never know. Nobody can guarantee about your future when it comes to the bad karma. So, what I encourage you to think is that you don't need to guarantee any of these. What you have to understand is Dhamma is the only thing that is not subject to decay, sickness, death, and any other karmas. So try to understand the Four Noble, try to read the Four Noble Truth, try to understand it practically, try to apply it in your daily life, practice Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, these 5 spiritual faculties. At the same time, try to attain at least the Sotapanna level in this life. So these are the main things that we need to understand out of all these things. But you need to understand these 4 things. I would say decay, Jara Dhamma, Vyadi Dhamma means sickness, Marana Dhamma means death, Papa Kammani, Dukkha Vipakani, Vipako Ma, Nibbadati, which means bad karmas you may have done in the past life. Nobody can guarantee their presence in the future, this life or in the next life. So we don't need to look for a person to guarantee, but we know what is really guaranteed is Dhamma to attain Nibbana, at least to attain Sotapanna. Okay, now let me see any questions here. Okay, I have a question from Cheryl. Okay, Bhante says if the action, speech not done intentionally, then no karma created. Yes. So my question is, if a person is not mindful at all, he did all the unwholesome deeds, to him or her, he is not aware at all. So does it mind no bad karma? Well, being mindful and doing an unintentional bad thing could be different. Now, we don't know what kind of a bad thing you're talking about, right? Now, most of the time, these individuals who might not know the Dhamma, kind of establish mindfulness practice, but they understand the normal unethical things, bad deeds, like they can kill, they can steal, they can misbehave, they can lie, they can take intoxicating drinks and drugs. So they all know, right? So I don't think that what you're talking about when it comes to this deeper mindfulness practice. But normally, we cannot say that someone who is careless, who is not mindful, and because of that reason, if that person is going to do a bad thing, he or she is exempt from this karma. I don't think that, because she knows that being unmindful really takes that person into a bunch of bad things. So right, but there would be something like this. Somebody, well, I mean, everybody. The problem is karma is differently taught by many religions, but in the Buddhist teachings we know karma is intention. But it's hard to say. Some people can Some people can misuse it because it's a very innate, like a very honest kind of thing. Somebody might say, I did it without intention. So, but whenever you have intention, you know that this is bad. Now, think about the other side. Somebody is really rude and mean to other people. So she knows that. So the moment that she knows that this is mean, this is bad, I mean, then mindfulness practice is not a big factor at that point, because that person knows that this is bad, this is rude, this is mean, I shouldn't have done it. That means she's making karmas. Second question. Is it not the aparapariya karma act over the life until become nirvana? Example, Mugalan, Arhan Mugalan. Okay. Now, what you asking me is that what happened with Venerable Moggala, Arhan Moggalana? Was it an aparapariya karma? Yeah, because, yeah, you're right. Because he killed his mom and dad in a life, so he did not experience everything in that life itself. So it can be Dittadhamma, immediately effective karma. Then it can be the second life. So it could be definitely the third life, because Ahosi karma is the last one. So he could not come to that point. So definitely, whatever the karmas, most of people experiencing is aparapariya karmas, vipakas that we are experiencing between the second life and the nibbana, right? So any life. Okay, that's all. So let's share all the good karmas with the deities and the relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. So may all the good karmas we've been doing so far be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang huntu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang huntu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang huntu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Also, we share all the good karmas with the deities who protect and bless all of us. May all the deities protect, especially share all these good karmas and protect and bless all of us. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang. Sabbe deva anumodantu, sabbe bhuta anumodantu, sabbe satta anumodantu, sabba sampatti sindhya. Akasattha cha bummattha deva naga mahindika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhang tuluka sasanang. Chirang rakhantu desanang, chirang rakhantu mang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. This is the greatest wish that we all been doing all the time, but we have to make it a practical reality. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways today help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And I'm going to be blessing with you. Blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silis nichang vadha pacha ino chataru dhamma vadhanti ayuvanu sukhang balang ayura rogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you everyone, and have a good night, and have a good morning, and have a good day. Take care. Be safe.